Okay, we're back in the P-Berg, Mr. LaFond. One of my watchers, BlackmasterRoshi, uh, he has a question for you. He wants to hear your retrospective of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. Of course, I'm assuming your history with the bridge as a Baltimorean of note, and also what you think of what happened a couple weeks ago with that bridge.
I was with a young lady in San Jose, and she showed me a video. I think like the day after that came down, but she asked me what I thought about it, but I was more interested in something else coming down. Okay, so I had no the guy I'm staying with down there. His wife texted me and she said she's gathering research material for me to do an article. My best memory on the Key Bridge was delivering ice cream with Don. I was his merchandiser, and he tried to catch these two babes in an RX-7 in his ice cream truck going over the Key Bridge. It was kind of like, compared to other bridges in Maryland, it was kind of humped. If there was much wind at all, they would shut it down. I mean, if you live in Baltimore, you've always heard news announcements where, the Key Bridge is shut down because of winds.
Really? So they would shut down that bridge because of wind?
It wouldn't have to be hurricane winds or anything.
Okay.
I mean,
A lot of people don't know that.
No, it was winds that would be far less than when you would expect to get, like, power lines down.
Yeah.
Okay. It would always be shut. Now, it didn't get a whole lot of traffic because it was the main route for guys from Anne Arundel County, from that waterfront county south of Baltimore, to get from Sparrows Point. And I used to coach at Seafood Clark's, practical MMA down in Sparrows Point.
Yeah, I remember Sparrows Point. I remember that.
Right, so at the end of North Point Boulevard, it ends at the Key Bridge, right? And then it goes over to Anne Arundel County, which is where we went to that one boxing match.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, like 20 years ago. But that's a working class area, that part of Anne Arundel County. Now, the people I knew that used that bridge were employees at Box and Save in Dundalk, who would take the Key Bridge over. And they would cut across Peninsula Highway, which crossed Bear Creek, and took them over to Dundalk Avenue, where I worked at Box and Save with them. Box and Save is on Dundalk Avenue. Dundalk Avenue meets Sowers Point at Water's Edge. And I believe Ron Wygren still has his garage there. I used to coach boxing for Ron. He had a gym in the elementary school rec center across the street from his garage, which is where Turner Station and Water's Edge met. Water's Edge is this little white trash waterfront area, okay? And then there's Brony Highway. There was like 10 little white trash cottages.
Brony.
And then there were Broning Highway, and that's behind the marine terminals. And you could take Broning Highway to go all around the inner harbor down through Canton and everything.
Okay, yeah, I remember that.
But it's kind of a long drive. Most people wouldn't do that. Now, Turner Station, which is between Broning Highway and Water's Edge, it's across the cove from Water's Edge, was an all African-American neighborhood. That was a free African-American Native American town from before, the 1800s. It was a town when Baltimore was still just a town, before Baltimore was even a city.
The town of the big house.
My cousins, the Baileys, lived across from, my Aunt Marie and my Uncle Herb. My Aunt Marie was my father.
We visited them. I remember visiting them.
That was his older sister. Right?
Yeah.
So she got washed out of there during the one that wiped out Long Island, that
Wow.
flood, Sandy.
Sandy, yeah.
Okay, so she got washed out of water's edge. She got rescued by canoe, and then she ended up moving up into historical Dundalk, farther, like 2 miles up Dundalk
Yeah, I
Avenue.
remember Dundalk too.
Okay, so she used to live on Murray Point. If you go past Murray Point a couple blocks to Bull Neck Road, which is where the number 10 bus turned around, you could see, I mean, when you were in their backyard, you're looking up at Key Bridge. The stanchions looked like they were only 200 yards away. But you would just look at the span because it was going from Sparrows Point over to Anne Arundel County.
Yeah.
And so if we want to try to get a look at the work that they're doing down there, what we would do is we would go to that park
Right.
at Water's Edge, which is probably the place where people are going to see any
Makes
work
sense.
that's getting done there.
Well, like we might actually go there, but it's interesting. It seemed like a very large bridge. Like I'm familiar with the Verrazano, right, between Brooklyn and Staten Island, and of course then the outer bridge from Staten Island to Jersey, and of course the.
You could feel it moving when you drove over, particularly when we were in that box, Edie's ice cream truck.
Right.
You could feel it going side to side while the truck was going.
To sum it up in terms of that's your your memories of the bridge and the interesting information a lot that you never hear, that like, oh, it's not even the wind, it's too windy, we're shutting it down because it's too windy.
As far as I know, nobody ever went on foot there. One dude jumped off one time, but like people would only be on foot on that bridge.
Was there?
If they got stranded, if there was an accident, if it was a suicide.
Did it have a walkway? Like, because like the Verrazano doesn't have a walkway.
I don't recall seeing a sidewalk, but it's been 20 years since I've been on that bridge.
All right. Well, so now it's a fairly large bridge. Now, what is your opinion in terms of? I'll make it a double thing to end this up. Obviously, if it's swaying in the wind, this thing was not built well. It says it was completed in 1977. Obviously, this thing was not built well, or not, to have.
It had a low wind tolerance, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, we're not architects, right? For what do you think happened with this ship magically losing power at just the right moment to smash into it? And of course, killing those poor bastards working on there at night. They always have construction people at night on bridges everywhere. What do you think happened?
I have no idea, and I'm a pedestrian. I'm not a motorist, so I mean, I actually, I feel bad for the guys that were stuck up in there. It must have been a harsh show, but. I don't know. I just wasn't really very interested in it when I heard about it. It wasn't surprising, even when I saw the thing go down like a slinky as soon as one of the supports went out. That didn't surprise me because it was a bridge that always scared me, like the Bay Bridge. It's like 10 times as long. That never scared me, but being on a Key Bridge always scared me. Of course, man. I'm afraid of heights when I don't have my hands holding on to something.
To get this dude afraid, you gotta be something, huh?
Well, it'll take me up some high spot, and I'll be afraid.
Yeah. Well, like I said, yeah. Well, it's just interesting to see that infrastructure. Obviously, most likely it wasn't a malicious. It was probably just human stupidity. And the idea that you have a shitty made bridge, and something will happen and it will fall apart, and it's just funny in Baltimore that it happened, because Baltimore is mostly useless, to be frank, other than being a port or whatever.
Most of the bridges in the Baltimore area they're interstate or state route overpasses or the railroad bridges. There's not many bridges in Pittsburgh here.
Oh man!
I think there's more bridges in Pittsburgh than there is in Maryland. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's nothing. It's nothing like Pittsburgh.
Wow.
I did. It did give me the creeps though, because I was on the bridge over the Willamette River the night before this happened. I took the bus too far and I went to the wrong side.
Yeah, you sent me the photo.
I went to the wrong side of the Willamette River, which on crutches. Took me a really long while to get up and over the bridge, and after I got past it's safe to drive past now light.
Yeah.
It took me a long while to get to like the safe area, And of course, I'm terrified of heights, and I'm looking through, and I can see the river a couple hundred feet below me. So that was pretty frightening. But I ended up getting a good view from my exit from Portland, which is cool because I don't even know if I'll go back to Portland again. And I really liked Portland, so I got a better view of Portland than I had. In my other trips back and forth to the train station there.
All right, that's the thing. I'll just add that like where I grew up with the Verrazano, you had those big freights with the Maersk and all that, with the hundreds of giant cargo things. That thing would go under the Verrazano all the time. And I'm trying to imagine if I have a feeling if one of those hit one of the posts on there. And I was a little kid, we used to go with the Verrazano. I would be scared to look. I would hide like a little bitch in the car seat. Like I would go low. I didn't want to see being up that high. I have a feeling that if it hit that, I don't think it would knock it down because it's like stone and whatnot. But you know what? Maybe it would. So boy, that would be inconvenient getting back to Brooklyn if that happened.
One thing you see taking the train going all across the country is bridges that aren't there anymore, where you just see the concrete stanchions. I don't know if the stanchion's the right term for the concrete support for a bridge. But you'll see the remains of a lot of bridges that are no longer in service, railroad bridges and local bridges, and a couple of highway bridges. They're fairly common, and I don't know. The things don't last forever.
No, they don't. And the infrastructure, a lot of stuff that was built, there was before, during, and just a little bit after the war. Obviously, the Key Bridge was built later, which wasn't to any credit, as you can see. The infrastructure is rotting. Concrete doesn't last like stone does, whereas like the Brooklyn Bridge was made with stone and whatnot. But all right, so that's okay. Just for BlackmasterRoshi, right? My Dragon Ball reference. That's your vid, bro.
All right. I hope that was okay.
Yeah, you do, man. You
most I could do is give
LaFond is back. People love the LaFond, man. That's it. So, you're a cult grade, like E or maybe even D, E celeb.
Oh, cool.